Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm sure you have noticed already that it's not Stephen who's the main host tonight, it's myself, Ross, who's having a wee go at it. So let's see what happens. Go right into the Manscaped thing. So this episode, the Endless Celts Podcast, is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and have engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredible comfortable grooming experience. The fourth generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, has now launched all over Europe and features wireless charging, a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, and comes with additional guards sized 1 to 4 to fine-tune your trim. And thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, you can now feel confident shaving your Bhoys. So join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code CELTS at manscaped.com. That was the hardest part of the whole thing. but we've got through it. We've got through it. So how are you doing anyway, boys?
Oh, good, man. It's brilliant to have someone else in the hosting chair. I can kind of sit back and get involved in the football chat in depth. And also, I have to say, reading that script is harder than it looks, isn't it?
It's really hard. Like I can chat away, no bother. But see, when I've got to do that, it's like going into the chapel and somebody asks you to do a reading at their wedding. I'm out. I'm not doing it, mate. But anyway, so obviously we've had a victory tonight against Betis. Wholesale changes to the team. So we'll just get into sort of a brief summary of the game. I'll come to yourself first, Stephen. Just basically what you thought of the game. Personally, I thought for the amount of changes we had, I thought we done well in the game. I thought there was a few good performances. I'm not saying that the ones we're going to touch on, in my opinion, that stood out, are going to walk into the team for the Motherwell game by any stretch, but I thought there was a few good performances and they all done probably what Postecoglou expected of them, and that was basically for me to give a good account of themselves, try and get the win, and play in the right way, the Postecoglou way, and I think they all tried to do that, and they concentrated on their own games, and I don't think anybody had a horrific game, and there was a few good performances. What about yourself? What do you think, Stephen?
I mean, I agree. For me, it was like a roller coaster. Celtic in Europe are just they're up and then they're down and they're up again. And thankfully, we held on. We held on for a great win against a Betis side who, by all accounts, they rested players but still had a team full of internationals. I mean, our team getting into the game. When you're even looking at the goalkeeping situation, Scott Bain starting, your heart sinks already. Even though I predicted him to start, it's just one of them things. You're just going, oh no. But for the team to put out with the likes of Shaw and all in it, I thought they were really competitive throughout the game. There was no horrific performances, but I mean, for me, I think Abada didn't have a great game, apart from the cross he put in, the kind of fizzed across the goal. But apart from that, for me, he was just another. He was shirtless. He was kind of Celtic were 10 men. I mean, that's my opinion of him at the minute. But great account of themselves, a young team, in a somewhat strange atmosphere at Celtic Park because the protest was going on. There wasn't the same kind of noise, and they didn't really focus too much on that. They got stuck in, played their game, and played fantastically well.
I would have to agree with that. It's a decent summary of the game. What about yourself, John?
I would agree with that. I firstly just want to say, well done, Ross, on taking the hosting chair. We know it's not easy, kid. So congrats.
I know, it bloody is.
But I think it's just part of the thing we're doing to rotate and give everybody a chance of doing it. But for you to take it first, I commend you for it, man.
I didn't get given a choice. I was put in the schedule.
You are. Stephen practically demanded it. I knew we're in the unfortunate position where we have to listen to him talk shite. So, no, I'm kidding. Just go back to the game, man. I thought it was it was a really good game. I agree with everything that Stephen says. I did think that there were some performances were slightly lacking, but by all accounts, it was quite a well fought victory. I was surprised. I mean, we said before the start of the game when we seen the lineup that it could either be a really good night or a really bad night for us, and fortunately, it was the former. I thought that a lot of the guys gave a good account of themselves, getting thrust in for a lot of them making debuts in the first team starts. And I thought they gave a really good account of themselves, and I thought we played really, really well. We sort of dug in. We didn't heats and stuff didn't drop, which I like to see. They're still fighting them, regardless of the fact that when you take the lead and then they pull it back, you take the lead and they pull it back. It's like there's still fight there, and even right through for the full 99 minutes, we didn't take the foot off the gas. So I thought it was a really, really good victory. And like Stephen says, that's a top Betis side. They're on a streak at the minute in La Liga. They're performing really well. Pellegrini is one of the world's best managers. He's got the team well drilled. And I mean, they made some changes as well, but I don't think their changes are to the extent of us. And like Stephen says, there's a team still fully internationals and fully a lot of quality and experience. So I thought it was a great performance and a great result. Although we know ultimately it doesn't necessarily mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it's a wee bit extra money for the club for the win, and it helps their sort of like their club see efficient in Europe and stuff like that, and Scotland's as well overall. So I think it was a good night.
Aye, I agree with that. Like you say, it helps with the coefficient, and by the way, they can all say what they want, but one side of Glasgow qualified out their group and one didn't. One had 9 points and went out. Wee bit of perspective. I think it was yourself that touched on that in the group chat tonight, John. I might be wrong, but or it might be Willie.
I think it was Willie that mentioned
it. Willie? Aye.
If we'd won that game tonight, we actually go out of the Europa League with more points than them. Which does put it into perspective. I mean, first of all, it shows us that we much tougher group for a start. Let's be honest. I don't think there's any two ways about it. But we won more games in a tougher group as well. But that's the way. That's just the way it is, eh? Like, I mean, what can you do? You can only play what's put in front of you. We've done that. We got 3 out of the 6. We got 9 points. I'm proud of the team, man, and I think that when we drop into this Conference League, I think we could do a bit of damage. And I don't think we should fear any team, especially at home.
Aye, I mean, I think probably in the end our downfall was maybe Turnbull not scoring that goal at the end against Leverkusen, and then Betis getting the draw against Leverkusen earlier in the campaign. That's what's undone us, really. But
same that first game in when we played Betis the first time as well, it was 4-3. I mean, that game was back. The second half of this game reminded me a lot of that first game, because like it was just goal after goal after goal for a period, and I was thinking to myself, is this going to be a repeat of that night? But again, I mean, we showed against them in that game that we were capable of scoring goals and we're capable of playing against them, and we showed them the night that we can beat them. So, aye.
And just touching on, there was a few good performances tonight. I thought Scales had a good game. I thought Uragide stood out for me at right back. I thought in the first half, I thought Soro done well, but he lacks discipline for me. And Stephen Welsh, I think he came into a bad Celtic team and looked really good last season, and he's come in and out this season and been nothing short of excellent every time he's played. For a guy 21 years of age, I think he's been outstanding. What's your sort of thoughts on the 4 names I've mentioned there, Stephen?
Well, I mean, Welsh scored a cracking flick on header near the front post the first 5 minutes of the game, and I always like seeing a set piece being scored. I thought Uragide, couple of mistakes, obviously his first kind of competitive start in Europe, and for all his effort and his endeavour and his enthusiasm, it did shine through, and he kept going even after that head injury he received. It looked like he was going to come off at a point because they didn't know whether he was concussed or not, but he continued the same way he started the game. Thus effort, he had lots of pace. Even though he got caught out a few times, he always caught up with the player, and he made a decisive, kind of put the striker off from scoring a goal in the first half, clean through, and he kind of put his arm on him. He'd done enough, but he was fantastic. And just going through the team, Liam Shaw, Williams, man, he done a fantastic job in the midfield role. He was pressing. Sorrow, as you said, like again, it's with. I like Sorrow, but he flutters to deceive sometimes. He's running about all the time. He receives the ball. There was one point he had an easy ball to play to Kyogo, and he just totally fluffed it. But then there's points where he tackles, he gets the ball and starts playing, he breaks up play, which he's really good at. But it's 50-50 with him. And I mean, Ewan Henderson coming on and scoring at the back post of his first touch, fantastic. And then David Turnbull scoring the penalty kick. And then Abada again to show the pace to get in there. And the final, 15 minutes to get into that position. And he probably would have been wrecked, but he still done it. And he got there and he got the penalty. It was just fantastic. The whole team for me, I agree with the Stephen Welsh thing. I think tonight he looked far better than Beaton did. Beaton was caught out so many times losing the ball, and Welsh was there. He was the best of the two centre halves for me. McCarthy played well, but again, brilliant team performance.
Yeah.
Aye. I mean, I agree with you on Welsh. I always think I never want to judge Beaton on his centre half performance because down the years he's been forgot about for me as what he can bring to the table as a midfielder because he's been utilised as a centre half for so long, and he's not a centre half, and I don't feel he should be judged on that. It's for me it's unfair, and I think this season when he's come back into the midfield role, I think he's done a more than decent job for Celtic. He's no, I think we've touched on it. He's not going to be part of that midfield three, but I think it's harsh to dig him as a centre half. What's your thoughts on Beaton the night, John?
I thought the night, I mean, like Stephen says, it's a bit of a lacklustre performance for Beaton, but I completely agree with you, Ross. I don't think we should be judging him on his centre half performances. We know he's not a centre half. He's stepping in there to cover because we're threadbare at the back at the minute. So fair play to him. I mean, he's stepping up. He's asked to step up, and he's doing that. But I mean, we've seen what he's done this season is in that sort of anchor role, that sort of central defensive midfield role, and he controls the game really well. And that seems to be a position that he excels in. So, I mean, as a player, with his experience and we've seen what he's capable of in that position, I think he's an outstanding asset to have in the team. But from a defensive standpoint, he certainly leaves a lot to be desired. I just want to touch on as well the Sorrow thing. I mean, I've not been quiet about this on this podcast or in the chat.
Never quit. Never quit.
I'm quite opinionated, I think that I mean, I understand what everybody says about Sorrow, and I do agree. I mean, he's certainly he's far cry for the sort of finished product, but he's still only 23. And I mean, I personally, I think there's a player in Sorrow, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We saw the night. The way he's breaking up the play, Stephen mentioned, his ability to read a ball and intercept a pass is phenomenal. I think he's not the greatest defender, and his tackles leave a lot to be desired. He's a wee bit too eager sometimes, but that's something you can work on. But his desire and his fight, his drive to just set about, chase a ball. He doesn't sit back. He doesn't back off anybody near him. He goes for it, and he's really, really good at that. And sometimes it benefits teams having sort of player like that, even though it might not do much, at least on the surface and the grand scheme of things. Having a player like that who's quite annoying, like a wee wasp, just running about you all the time, just buzzing about you, just kind of knitting at your heels and all that, can put a player off like drastically. And I think that it's something we can utilise. So I think that I thought he had a good game tonight. I know there's a lot of people saying that he's not got a career at Celtic, he's not good enough. I can understand why you're saying that now, but I think that as a future prospect, another 2-3 years down the line, if he's developed right and you're working on his game the way, or you're pointing out the certain aspects of his game that he needs to work on, I think there's a potential to have a real talent there, and somebody that you could definitely benefit from. And as I said, he's still a young guy. But I thought a lot of the boys Welsh. Absolutely phenomenal. Completely agree. He's came into a bad Celtic side last season. He's not put a foot wrong since then. He's done what he's been asked to do. He's been solid. I thought Urigidi as well. I thought he had a great game. obviously there was a few defensive errors and stuff that he could still work on. But again, that's his first start in a competitive fixture and in Europe. So I mean, to give him credit as well, and the boy's an absolute unit. Like he reminds me, he's some size of a laddie, like, and he doesn't strike me. But well, you say that when you look at him from a physical standpoint, he doesn't strike you as a right back or a modern day sort of full back anyway. But his pace is unreal for his size. We've seen it a few times as well. His ability just off the mark is incredible. And he caught a few balls, like he chased down a few defenders that got by him a couple of times, and that was just like absolutely aghast at his pace. But I mean, I think just given his physical attributes as well, he's somebody that might serve as well in a central defensive role. We've seen, I mean, we've had players like that in the past who technically weren't the most gifted, but were absolute stalwarts in defence, like Bobo, for example. You weren't getting by him. So I think he's definitely got a role to play going forward. I think he showed tonight that he's capable of stepping up when needed against quality opposition as well. But I thought a lot of the young guys done great. Henderson coming in, snatching a goal straight off, coming off the bench. I think we've all spoke highly of Henderson in the past. Not just on this, but before we even started this podcast, it's like Henderson's been one that we've always spoke about quite highly. And it was like, I mean, if you'd have showed me that at the start of the season, that lineup, and we were going to be playing Betis in the Europa League with that lineup, I'd have just great. Like I'd have just walked away crying because we're going to get absolutely scudded. But Ange's got them playing well. He's bringing out the best in some of these guys, and we're not the final product yet. And we keep saying it, well, this is far from the finished article. But see, even where we are now, and even with these young guys coming in and seeing the sort of passion that they're playing with, the drive, and it's non-stop for 90 minutes, just exactly like Hans says it was going to be, is fantastic to see. And it's if this is a sort of trajectory in the direction that you're heading, and I think that's incredible. A lot to be excited about, boys.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see even in Welsh's sort of press conference yesterday, you could see he was really loving playing under Ange, even though he's not playing all the time. They're all just buying into it. You could see that in his interview, he was buying into it, and you could see it in the pitch tonight. It was great. You're not going to take too much away from the game, really, because I don't think it was a full strength Betis team or Betis team. Sorry, Wally, but it's a good win nonetheless. And touching on the goals, Stephen, you'd alluded to the first goal, a set piece, the glancing header, shades of Henrik, that wee header, I have to say. I'm not comparing them by any stretch, but it was a lovely wee glance. They didn't even play in the same position. But Henderson, I mean, I've been a big critic of Mikey Johnson, and that one at the end was just epitomised for me why he's not going to be ever a first choice for Celtic, especially as long as Jota's there. But I have to commend him, the wee shimmy, the drop of the shoulder, and the ball in for Henderson, brilliant. Turnbull penalty executed, great. What about yourself, do you think of the goal, Stephen?
As I said before, the set piece goal, I love seeing a set piece being scored, especially from Celtic, because we can see enough of them. And the fact that Welsh done the run, flick on into the bottom right corner, fantastic. And Mikey Johnson, I'm glad you brought that up. It reminded me of the time he went through against Rangers 1-on-1, and he fluffed that chance as well. It seems like he's always in two minds when he gets in them positions, Ross. And he always, 9 times out of 10, he makes the wrong decision. But the fact that you brought up the cross he did for Henderson to get that goal, you have to give him kudos for that. It was a fantastic drop of the shoulder. Pace.
Stephen, slow it down, sir. Take a wee time.
Pace. I've took enough, right? This is my time. This is my time to speak.
You've had about 10 minutes there, John.
I do talk a lot, I'm sorry.
It's the coffee.
Whip the ball in.
It is. I drink far too much coffee before I come on.
Henderson.
Sorry, Stephen.
Back post, first touch, goal, penalty kick. I mean, Turnbull, your elevator wasn't on the pitch. and Giacomakis, Giacomakis, whatever you want to call him, John, he wasn't on the pitch to take it. So Turnbull stepped up and took the penalty really well. I know you're going to obviously come to Kyogo, so I'll let you move on.
No, I was going to touch on Henderson with his goal to John. I think he's technically very good. Obviously, you alluded to him a wee bit there, but I think I didn't have a great game tonight, but I think there's a future there for him at Celtic. I think he's technically a very good player. He's what age is he? About 21, maybe.
21.
He's still very young.
21. He's still very young. He's got a lot of developing to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've, as I said before, I mean, we've been fans of him and his brother for since they broke through in the team and we started seeing them. And I think letting his brother go was a bit of a mistake because, again, I think somebody that could have potentially thrived under Angie, somebody had a lot of upside, a lot of potential, and somebody we could have benefited from, especially last year. But I think the young boy, he's definitely a talent. He's got everything there. It's just bringing the best out of him. But you seen some of his movement off the ball when he came on for that goal, for example. The way he cut in for get on the edge of that pass and just sort of nick his foot in, the timing and everything else, it was outstanding. I thought it was a great goal. Turnbull's penalty was great. Welsh's header was great. I said enough my last time speaking here. But I thought all great goals, and I think Henderson's definitely a talent we can utilise in the future, definitely.
Oh, aye. And listen, before we touch on Kyogo, because I know Stephen's itching to go into that, but the referee tonight, I mean, personally, I thought he was cutting about like he thought he was Kasabian at T in the Park on the Sunday night. I think he thought he was the headline act. He was an absolute shambles. What's happened to John?
I think there's a wee bit of technical issues, but let's carry on.
I think he thought he was the main attraction tonight, and he wanted to be the big story. He was throwing cards about left, right, and centre. It was. Postecoglou said there's no dead rubbers at Celtic, but the grand scheme of it was a nothing game, and for both teams, and the referee should have sort of seen that. In my opinion, what did you think his performance?
It's the same thing, isn't it? That European referees take things to the extreme. You get the flamboyant European referee who's flying about in the pitch, giving out yellow cards, red cards, left, right, and centre. I do think though. I think your man, was it Real, their right back, he should have been sent off for me. I think his second challenge on Johnston, that's one he's definitely missed. But I don't know what it is, the referee. It must be contagious from Scotland right through the year. But I think the referees are just really inconsistently bad. And that's the truth of the matter. Whether it's in Scotland and England, even with the help of VAR, which they did have in that game, obviously, there's some decision that was like baffled at. And as you said, he didn't really let the game flow for my liking. There was too much of the referee blowing his whistle, which made the game a bit stop-start. And that adds to the fact that there was a silent protest going on, which really obviously didn't help matters. But that's a totally separate issue from the football side of things. But yeah, the referees are just shockingly bad this season.
Aye. See, personally, like, I'm 38, right? I've watched football for a lot of years
38?
now. Yeah, I know you wouldn't think, eh?
I think
it's the wee fresh glow and the fine thatch, but aye. I mean, there's only, and that I can ever remember, there's only a handful, if that, of referees that I would say have actually been football fans and understand football, and that is Colina, and there was a Dutch referee, I can't mind his name, I'm sure he was Dutch or German. They're the only referees that I can think where I've watched games of football and went, aye, you understand the game.
You're the ticket.
Most referees don't actually understand the game. They get power hungry. They go on a power trip. I don't know.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, we'll move on to, John's not here, we'll move on to the Kyogos injury. In my opinion, I like, he probably in hindsight shouldn't have brought him on. And when Ayeti went down injured, for me, I looked at it and I thought, right, I know Franny never wants a badder through the middle. I don't think he's a central striker, but for the night, it would have done. It would have done. Put him in through the middle, bring Mikey Johnston on, and away we go. But he's went with Kyogo. Fair enough. He could. I get why he's brought him on to an extent, but I wouldn't have risked him personally. But Kyogo could get injured. He could have left him out the night altogether, not brought him on, played him on Sunday, and he could have got injured against Motherwell. The only reason you're raging about it is because this was a game that meant a hell of a lot less than what the Motherwell game does. But what's your thoughts, Stephen?
Fuming, man. I have to be honest, because I think like you. Yes, it was great to get the win tonight, but you don't need to add another casualty to that list. And Postecoglou's done very, very much like nothing wrong since he's come in. Obviously, a few questionable decisions earlier in the season, but this for me is definitely one that he has to take, and he has to own this because, as you said, Abada can go for the middle, Johnston can come on and go to the left or go to the right, and Montgomery can stay in his position. I didn't see the need for Kyogo. Give him that rest because he's only come off a season, obviously from the J League. He's played on through us. He got injured in the middle of the season as well. He was out for 6 weeks. And unfortunately, in the chat as we're recording this, Franny said that Postecoglou's confirmed that this is a bad one. So,
oh really?
Aye. So there you're looking at Kyogo, Jada, the two guys, the two main central pivots of our team, out for a significant period of time coming into this run of fixtures, and you're left with Ayeti. We don't even have a striker. And see, to be fair, Ayeti played decent. He held the ball up. He linked the play well. Yes, he doesn't have the blistering pace Kyogo does, but he did play well until he got took off. I'm not going to take that away from him. I just think bringing Kyogo on for that game of basically a dead rubber. Let's be honest. It was. And I just think it was a decision that he didn't have to make. There were so many other alternatives. You could have thrown on Henderson earlier, put him on the right, Abada through the middle. There's so many different things you could have done in that situation. And I just don't understand why he went for Kyogo. I really don't, Ross. And it's angered me. It actually took away from that win a wee bit, seeing him go off. It's just one of them things, really.
I mean, I totally get your sentiments. I do. But like I've said, if he doesn't get injured, we move on. We don't talk about it. It's bad luck. It's more than bad judgment. It's bad luck on Ange because.
But if he makes the right call, you're not going to get bad luck anyway. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing.
Well, I know that there's pros and cons for it. He's probably got caught up a wee bit in the game as well. Like being in the game, we're up 1-0, Ayeti goes off. He wants to win the game. He's a winner.
Of
Do you know
course,
what I mean?
of course.
Let's get Kyogo on and take the game to him. Hindsight, he goes off injured. It's a bad decision, but what can you do?
What can you do, man?
Yeah, there's nothing you can. But if it's a bad one, it's an absolute gutter, and it's and just basically goes with the luck that we've had in the last more or less 2 years now. I can't mind the last time, and it's probably going to be the same this time. I can't mind the last time we faced strangers with a full strength team.
Yeah, that's what came into my head because obviously Rodgers had to do it, put Mikey Johnson up front with no strikers. We've had to play fringe players against them before, but I mean, obviously, I know what you're saying. Looking back in hindsight, and I know we don't want to obviously spend too much time delving into it because it's happened, and we have to move on from it. But you're looking at the potential fact that your main left winger's out injured with a hamstring, your main striker's out with a hamstring. James Forrest unfortunately pulled up last game what looks like a hamstring, so we could be getting into this game, a final league game that we need to keep winning. There's no draws. It can't take draws. We need to keep winning. No. We're getting into this game of just Abada, Johnson, and who's playing for the middle? Mind-boggling.
I know. It's a worry, and Kyogo's not going to play on Sunday if what Franny's saying in the chat is correct. But let's touch on that. Who do we go with then in that front three? I think personally, you go Forrest, you go.
But what if Forrest, he pulled up, so we don't know his situation.
Aye. maybe it's a tough one, eh? Maybe you go Abada on the right, you go Mikey Johnson on the left. Who do you go through the middle?
You're giddy.
bring
Somebody.
bring back the Griff.
Oh, don't, no, no, we're not getting into that chat. No, not chat.
All is forgiven, Lee.
It's just, I mean, for me, Ross, I know we're having a wee laugh and a joke about it, but it's just indicative of the position. Like, we cried out in the summer, and we got Giamakis and Kyogo, but we need it more, because at that point, Ayeti dropped off the face of the earth, and you're left with Giamakis, who, by all accounts, he's had bad luck. He's been injured. Kyogo, this is his second injury while he's been with us. We don't know again how long that could be for, but by the sounds of it, it's a bad one. And it's just, it's a bit, the prospect of going through these tough fixtures without, especially Jada and Kyogo, it's a bit daunting. Not to dismiss the team without them, and that's not what I'm doing at all, but it's just a reality of where we're at. The backup coming in for me for these games isn't quite good enough.
No, and I know what you're saying, but I think it was a time issue again, like we've spoke about before, getting enough reinforcements in, and you're just hoping that you can get to the January transfer window and everybody's going to be all right. We're now in December. It's not turned out that way by the looks of things, and you have to say you're probably right on the Kyogo one, where he shouldn't have played him the night at all. It was the wrong decision in hindsight, but you try and look at it in the side where he doesn't know he's going to get injured, but he should just take that, like you say, he should just take that fully away, especially when we've got Jota out. And that sort of brings me on to like the next sort of topic. So obviously everybody's saying, and it looks like we probably will pull the trigger on the Jota one and pay the $6.5 million. Probably they'll try and get that done before the end of the season. But it brings me on to the sort of Carter Vickers one. So last week there was like stuff getting said about it was a 10 million price tag. Seems to have been quashed this week, which I'm not surprised about. I don't think Celtic would have took the option to buy if it was a 10 million price tag on it.
Over a 30-year finance term, maybe.
Aye, it's like £10 million, or right. Well, we're not taking the option to buy because we're not buying them at £10 million. End of story. They just when they do that, it's just doesn't make sense. It's no indicative of Celtic. But my question to you is basically if what it looks like we're going to take Jota at the $6.5 million, do you expect Celtic with Julian coming back? Do you expect Celtic to possibly shell out the best part of £13 million on the two players in the summer?
Not a chance. For me, it's either one or the other, and obviously the other for me would be Jada. Albeit Cameron Carter figures, he's been fantastic. He's a Rolls Royce. He strolls through games, especially domestic level. He makes it look easy, and I would love to get him on board. But the only way I can see that happening if he tries to force through a move to Celtic himself to kind of reduce the transfer terms, because I know players obviously can be influenced obviously in making moves and kind of determining what clubs pay for them if they really want out of a particular club. That's the only way I can see Carter Vickers ending up with Celtic. And I think you make a great point. Julian coming back, ready replacement, isn't it? Because Julian, he was our best defender, obviously, up until he got that horror injury when he hit his knee off the post. But it's one or the other for me, Ross. I can't see. I mean, Celtic spending. I know we've worked out in Edward and stuff, but these are very rare occasions when you see Celtic splashing out £6 or £7 billion. And now the climate's changed, and Postecoglou pretty much confirmed himself in his last press conference that Celtic will never be able to splash the cash. We all knew that was a reality, but for the manager to come out and say that in the press conference, he's very much kind of hinting towards it and need to kind of aim low for a high sell on. We always knew that was the case, but he's confirmed it, and I can't see at all that we're going to fork out £13 million in two players. It'd be one or the other.
I mean, I have to agree with that. As much as you would love them to go and get the two of them, it's highly unlikely that. I mean, it's the best part of 13 million. Like I've said, it's a hell of a lot of money to Celtic. That they've done it in the past. Obviously, on the podcast that we touched in the Martin O'Neill era, they done it that season. They spent a hell of a lot of money that season, but it's a different time now. Celtic they're no. Well, I was going to say that no, probably no financially at that level. And you can't get the same type of player for that amount of money anymore. As much as we love Jota and we love Vickers, they're just not going to. I can't see them getting the two of them. And if it was a straight choice between one or the other, it would be Jota all day long. Especially as you say with Julian coming back. I have to say though, in my opinion, I would say probably if it was a straight choice between Vickers and Julian, I would probably go Vickers. What about you?
Very controversial, big man. I would just go. I would go for Julian based on the fact that he scored some crucial goal for us, like in Lazio, like for the League Cup final. He has that affinity already with the Celtic fans. Not saying Carter Vickers doesn't, but for me, not to the same level. I think Julian's fully bought into the Celtic way of things. Cameron Carter Vickers, yes, he's on loan and he's given us all every game, but I just don't. This is probably going to sound messed up, but I don't quite think that there's the same affinity with them, the fans and Vickers, yet as there is with Julian. If you get me, that's what would sway. On the pitch, they're very similar, but just for loyalty, I know there's not much of that in football. I would stick with Julian.
Aye. No, I mean I totally get that. I just think, obviously, with all the other reasons that you've sort of alluded to there, then as an entity, maybe Julian. But I just think if you're going solely as defenders, I think Carter Vickers a better defender. I don't think anybody in the time that he's been at Celtic, and it's no as long as Julian has been, obviously, I don't think any striker in Europe or in domestically has dominated him, and that's happened to Julian on a number of occasions. But
yeah, I agree.
Listen, but Julian's our player, Carter Vickers, isn't he? So that's it, basically.
Come on, Julian!
But God knows what's happened to John. But we'll move on to the Kyogo diving narrative.
I think John may be in Williams' hit-away bunker. That's why he lost signal.
Maybe he got offended because I said he was talking too much. Nah, but going on to the Kyogo diving narrative, I mean, it's a weird one. It's like, for me, he does go down easily. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But it's only on occasion, and he gets a lot of opportunities to do that. So to go down occasionally, I've got no issue with. I think it was Anthony Haggerty had asked Postecoglou the question yesterday. It was a really good question on the diving narrative. I'll not read the whole extract or the whole comment, but a wee bit of it was, if you end up in arguments with ignorant people, you'll eventually become one of them. Yeah. And then he ended it with brave soldiers sitting in their studios. I mean, absolutely, that was a swipe at Boyd, wasn't it? What do you think yourself? And what do you think Kyogo goes down too easily? I don't think he goes down any easier than any other player.
I think there's
any other striker in Scotland.
I think there's a major thing that pundits and certain people are missing, as you alluded to, Boyd. Boyd was used to the physical battle. He was the big man, the lamppost. I nicknamed him when he played football because all he did was stand in the same area. Do you know what I mean? He was physical. Kyogo's coming from the J League, which is more technical. You have to be more smart. And the bottom line is Kyogo's smart. He knows how to play the game. He's streetwise. And if he buys a foul, he's not cheating. He gets contact. And if that's pulling his shirt does gently, he's going to take advantage of it, because why shouldn't he? I don't understand why people think that because he's not this big, bustling 6 foot guy who's built, that he can't go down. Do you know what I mean? Because the contact's deemed not strong enough or not hard enough. That's a load of shite, in my opinion. I think Kyogo's just smarter than most of the defenders in the SPFL, and the media and outlets are kind of finding that hard to grasp. First, he came over from Japan. He got racially abused in the first couple of weeks he was here.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, he got injured. Bad luck on him. Thirdly, he's getting pigeonholed because he's the top goal scorer for us, our best player, and he's taking the piss out of most defenders in the SPFL. And I love Postecoglou's argument back by saying basically these guys are hiding behind their studios and they're hiding behind newspapers. They won't come out publicly or won't come out to the him and say it. That's bang on. It's another edition of a keyboard warrior, isn't it? You see plenty of them people on Twitter trolling people and stuff like that. It's the narratives. It's not a narrative no more. It's a load of balls. He's just smarter than most players in the league, and he can buy a foul. It's basically it's what you would expect a target man to do: hold the ball up, win the free kick, get your team high up the pitch. Kyogo does nothing different for me than what a target man, de facto target man would do. He gets in behind players, he chips at their heads, and they react. And look at John Suter. You seen what happened there, and the cameras picked it up. He nipped them in the midriff and left the bruise, but no one says anything about that. Load of shite. Let the guy plays football and show he's the best player in the SPFL. Easy.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And do you know how it gets me more? Is there's guys like Ryan Kent, for instance, right? He's been going down like that for how long's he been at Rangers? 2 years or something?
2 years. Don't really give a shit.
There's no a bloody narrative painted like that about him. But Kyogo, he's different. Why?
Yeah.
Because he plays in green white hoops. Because he's no fae these shores. I don't know, but for me, it's unfair, it's unjust, and it's wrong. And Postecoglou coming out and backing him and showing the player that he's backing him is great for the player, and I love it. But it never surprised me in the slightest that he did.
You look at obviously the tackle that happened Turnbull, your man Colin Butcher. What do people want? People to make them tackles on Kyogo and then he goes down. They won't call him a diver. They want him to get clotheslined round the neck and they won't call him a diver.
Aye.
Smart players buy free kicks. Smart players buy penalty kicks. It's the way the world plays. It's technical footballers, whether we like it or not, they're a level above people who are just hard and bustling. They can get in and around them. They can make them react to certain situations. Win free kicks, win penalty kicks. I see nothing wrong with it. He's the best player in the country. Fucking load of balls.
Absolutely. I'll tell you. See, Giacomakis. He came on. I can't mind who it was he came on against, but we were trying to see a game out, and he came on and he done brilliant. He bought free kicks left, right, and centre, and we seen the game out. Right, he probably bought more free kicks in the 10-15 minutes he was on than what Kyogo's bought in the whole time he's been at Celtic.
Yeah,
that's what you do. It's what you do.
Yeah.
But he's not painted as this diver. It's football. He's not a diver. Okay, right. He goes down easy again. I say good,
but he still gets the contact.
But he gets against Livingston, right? He wins the penalty, right? Regardless, the guy doesn't hurt him as much as what it looks like, right? But the guy hits him in the head. He's going to go down. The penalty area? You're not supposed to hit somebody in the head in the penalty area or anywhere in the park. So he's going to go down. It's natural. I just don't get it, man. I don't get why they're painting this narrative. It's like they're trying to knock him out of stride. I don't know. Really, I really don't know, but it's...
Well, one thing we do know...
And it wouldn't happen to a Rangers player.
One thing we do know, regardless of narrative, regardless of what side it's on, Postecoglou has his back. Simple as. That's all he needs to know.
Aye, and that's all that matters. Aye, what a guy that is. He's a total legend, man. Honestly, I've never, like Brendan Rodgers, Martin O'Neill, right? They all done unbelievable jobs at Celtic, more than Postecoglou's ever done at Celtic.
Well,
obviously, he's not had he's not had enough time to do whatever. But as a person, and the way he deals with the media and the way he comes across, I don't think I've liked a Celtic manager as much as I like him. I think he's a stellar human being first and foremost, and then a great manager, and he's going to bring success to this club. I have absolutely no doubt about that.
Same.
Whether and success, we don't know what that is yet this season, but I think he'll win the cup. But the league is up in the air, but it's there to be won.
Yep.
Aye.
I agree.
So anyway, moving on, we'll look ahead to the weekend game against Motherwell. I think obviously Carter Vickers and Starfelt will probably come back into the fold. I think there's no doubt about that. And I think they'll have to be on their mettle and have to be wary of Tony Watt, who I think he's still the top scorer in the league.
Top domestic scorer.
He's in a rich vein of form, and they'll have to be very careful with him. But I think it's a game we can probably win. What are you thinking yourself?
It's at home, isn't it?
It's at home, aye.
It's at home. I mean, obviously get into the game Sunday. Yes, we're missing a few key players, but there is games you deem winnable, and I think Motherwell, not to be disrespectful, I know we say it all the time, regardless of what team we're playing in this podcast, it is winnable because we should be beating the majority, if not all, the teams in the SPFL. Let's be honest. Tony Watt, yes, he's playing fantastically well. They've got Declan Gallagher, Stephen O'Donnell. Do you know what I mean? They've got some good pedigree. If I don't think Declan Gallagher, no, Stephen O'Donnell. He plays for Scotland back. I mean,
Gallagher's at Aberdeen now.
Aye, yeah. Sorry about that. Mugabe, their centre back. He's a good player. They've got good players. Their manager, Graham Alexander, likes to play football. I've actually followed his career quite closely, and I listened to his interview he done with the Open Goal guys, which I thought was fantastic. But you're right. Starfelt, Vickers will come back in. Believe it or not, I would keep Scales in, depending on how he feels after his first 90 minutes. I thought Scales played really well. I don't think he done much wrong. I thought he was athletic. He's got a good build. He's got up and down the wing numerous times. I think Montgomery actually let himself down tonight. I don't think he got into the game at all. I think Scales put him in some great positions, and he tried to take players on. Wasn't quite working for him. I would keep Scales in. I would possibly. I don't know. I mean, Abada has to start. He does, doesn't he?
Aye.
Johnson on the left. It's a toss-up. I mean, who's in the middle, isn't it?
Aye. I mean, I'd written a team out, to be honest with you. But
John's back.
We'll put it in the bin. Hi, John.
Hi, sorry about that, boys.
What happened?
Power decided to cut out, and then it wouldn't. My modem, internet, my router, call it what you will, wouldn't connect. So I was struggling to get onto that.
You've missed a big chunk of the show, but
I've missed the entire lot of the show by the looks of it.
But it's probably would have ran into an hour and a half if you'd been here.
Probably. I want to catch the end of it though. I'll catch.
We're looking into the Motherwell game, so I can't mind what Stephen said.
Thanks for that.
But I know we're just sort of talking about the team. Myself, I had went with Hart, Juranovic, Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Turnbull, and Rogic, which I think picks itself, and then the front three now is absolutely up in the air, isn't it? It's like I would go. I'd probably go. Well, we don't know if Forrest is fit, right? I would go Forrest, Johnston, and Abada through the middle. Or even Abada on the right and Forrest through the middle. Forrest done it through the middle before. I think you could do that. Or
Forrest on the left, Abada on the right, and Johnston through the middle.
No chance, no way.
No.
Johnston through the middle?
Johnston played through the middle.
Get your power off again.
A couple of years ago, and he'd been as well playing a flip-flop through the middle.
That's right,
a flip-flop?
Don't know where that came from.
So in the night when Kyogo was brought on the night, and everybody was like, why not just put Johnson through the middle? Because
I said Abada.
I said Abada.
Abada for the
Johnson.
Middle. Oh,
well, it's all about opinions, kid. It's all about opinions. But listen,
But anyway, we
So-
don't know the extent of Kyogo. It might be nothing.
No,
let's
Franny's
No.
put in the chat that Alan said it's a bad one.
mhm.
who said?
Franny said that Ange Postecoglou in his interview said it's a bad one.
How would he know?
Well,
He's
he
literally
gets
just-
assessed by the medical team.
Aye,
That's how I would know.
Yeah, it doesn't take 5
If
minutes
it-
to assess somebody's injury.
Aye, but if it's that bad, then you maybe
He'll know.
pretty soon. They've
Yeah.
seen enough injuries. He's been a manager for 25 years.
I'm trying to be positive, guys. You're ruining
I
it.
know, man, but I'm being realistic.
You're
Nah.
going to make him cry.
No, listen, when you were away, we weren't talking about you. We just ate to your face, kid. Nah, listen. So I want to touch on just sort of. It's a bit. When I was making my notes and that last night, it's totally different mindset now with Kyogo being out the team. But just looking at the weekend's games, obviously Celtic are playing Motherwell. I think, like Stephen's alluded to, you've still got to fancies. I'm assuming you fancies as well, John.
Aye. That was
Aye.
thinking enough about us, especially for what I've seen tonight. I'm confident that the boys, we've got a lot more depth than we maybe initially thought. I'm a lot more confident bringing some of these guys in rotation.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, excuse me, between now and the 2nd of January, just want to look at the sort of games that both teams have got coming up, just to see where you think we'll be going into that game. So, I mean, Rangers play before us again at the weekend at Tynecastle. It's a potential banana skin. I actually looked at their lineup earlier on, just for reference, and I thought that the rest of a lot more players than they did. So, I mean, especially going into the Hearts game, but for me, it's a big weekend coming up. After this, on paper, I don't see where, like after Tynecastle, I don't see on paper where they drop points before their visit to Parkhead.
Well, I'll put it out there straight away. I think Rangers and Celtic, touch wood, will remain unbeaten until the Old Firm game.
You think so? Well, I mean, I'm going to touch on. I think
Hearts can take Hearts. I think Hearts are more than capable of taking points off them.
but I think so. It's
Glasgow Derby game. Sorry.
I would like to see them taking at least a point. Of course you would. But Rangers, between now and their visit to Parkhead, they go to Tynecastle, and then their next 3 games after that are at home to St Johnstone, Dundee United, and St Mirren, which I think are pretty much givens that they're going to win the games. And then the only
St.
the
Johnston's got
one.
their card marked.
Well, I don't know, man. But then they play.
I mean, these are tough games, though. I mean,
Aye, they're all tough games. But if you were a Celtic supporter looking at their games, right, home to St Johnstone, Dundee United, and St Mirren, you would go 9 points.
aye.
Yeah.
They'll be looking at it like that too. And then they go to Pittodrie before they play us, which at a push they could drop points there, but I wouldn't hold my breath. I think the Hearts game this weekend is massive, and if they come through that unscathed, fair play to them. And then you've got Celtic between now and then. I fancy us for maximum points. We go to Dingwall, St Mirren, and St Johnstone, and then we're at home to Hibs. But I think if Rangers drop points at Tynecastle, and we can get to within 1 point or 3 points, whatever it is, before we play them, I think that's massive, and it puts pressure on them coming to Parkhead. But at the same time, I still think there's pressure on both teams. What's your thoughts on that, Stephen, between now and then?
I mean, there's pressure, as we talked about before when John's power cut out. There's pressure always. I can't accept the draw in this run of games. I can't accept it because I think the other team, regardless if it is, will take advantage of that. We've put ourselves in this position. We have, but we've gained form, we've gained momentum in the league. We're unbeaten in the league in about 10, 11 games now, so that bodes well. Unfortunately, the injuries, Ross, are the big kicker for us. I mean, we don't. Jada's out, Kyogo's out. Obviously, we can't keep harping back to that because we should have a squad strong enough to see off the opposition coming into Celtic Park or away from home, especially like the Dingwall and stuff. We should have still enough about us to get maximum 3 points out of every game. On the other side of Glasgow, I just believe that they'll just go unbeaten. I think that's just kind of the run they're in at the minute. Your Gio Fanny from Bronkhorst has come in and they're unbeaten in the first 5 games. They've only conceded 1 goal. And yes, Celtic fans, regardless, we have to say they're still in a good, rich vein of form. They seem to have picked up a bit. And it's up to us to keep up. That's the way it is. We need to keep up the pressure, keep up the wins, and catch them in the points. That's the only way, obviously, this league's going to be won, by winning.
Aye, no, I totally hear you. What about yourself, John? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, more or less the same sort of mindset. I think that, I mean, if they struggle at any point, they're going to get decisions their way anyway to help them. So I'm fully expecting that they'll probably come away with the maximum points.
We had the referee chat for you when you were off. Thank God.
Do it while I was off. Saved ourselves about 40 minutes. Me ranting. But no, I mean, I think like you said, Stephen, the injuries is a bit of a concern. I mean, how you'd be stupid not to think that, because it's first team players that are out the picture at the minute, and crucial players as well, like Kyogo. Jota has been absolutely phenomenal. Losing these guys is obviously quite a big deal. But like I said, I saw enough the night where prior to the night, you're looking at some of the positions and you're thinking we're really quite thin. But I mean, I think we've got guys that can come in. Just play completely comfortable playing skills at left back. I think I've seen enough of him in the this game and when he came on. He seems confident enough. So Juranovic, I mean, it remains to be seen. We obviously don't know the extent of everybody's injuries as well. I know that they all seem to be hamstring, which again, this comes down to something we pointed on before about load management, and I think that's going to be crucial coming into January. So these boys that played tonight, I think that it was crucial for them to get game time tonight and experience a competitive first game, because I can see them playing a bigger part between now and January. And Ange isn't stupid. He knew that this tonight was a perfect opportunity to sort of bed in some of these boys and give them some valuable time on the pitch. So I wouldn't expect me if we see some more wide scale changes in the coming weeks, because we need to you need load management on these guys now. They've been working their asses off since the start of the season for 90 minutes every game, plus 90 minutes every game, 2 or 3 times a week. So it's paramount that you've got players there that can rotate, and it's just how we manage to cope with the injuries that we've got, and then hope that there's no more after that, because like I say, they all seem to be the same sort of injury, and I don't know if that might be something to do with the intensity which Andrew's got them in training, on top of obviously the minutes they're putting into the games and how hard they're working, but obviously it's taking its toll on their bodies now at this stage. So one of the things he's not had available to him, or that is the sort of depth, or the sort of players where he can sort of rotate. I mean, I know he's tried it. We've taken certain players off at certain moments in games, but I think between now and then it's paramount we don't drop any points, because like I says, I've absolutely, I'd put my house on it that they'll probably get a penalty or two. Probably, aye. When they need it most, if they're struggling. So aye, it's on us to just put the games away when we can. Aye.
I mean, how do you feel about them losing at Tynecastle and drawing at Pittodrie, and we go into it leveling points?
That would be the perfect scenario, I think.
That'd set it up nicely. It's not going to happen though. That's a go west moment for me. The king of wishful thinking.
Listen, it could happen as well, though. I mean, you're saying, like Stephen mentioned there, like since Van Bronckhorst came in, it's like they've been on a wee bit of running and all that. They're still shipping goals. They still don't look great defensively.
That's shipping goals. They've only conceded 1 5. That's not shipping goals.
They're no shipping.
They still look frail defensively, and Aye, but they're playing a different style of football now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're still there to be taken. I genuinely do, and they
I
will
have to
concede between now
say,
and then.
in my opinion, they've went the way I didn't want them to go, because I think they became slightly stale under Gerrard, and they've been reinvigorated for Van Bronckhorst come in. And I wanted it to go the other way, obviously, but I feel like maybe no reinvigorated, but certainly they've got that organisation backing steeliness, conceding a lot of goals, and it's not a good mix if you're of the Celtic persuasion. But anyway, so before we move on to the score predictions, I just want to get your thoughts on, John, because you'd obviously dropped out. I want to get your thoughts on what you think about Kyogo coming on the night.
I mean, it's a difficult position for Ange to be in, because you're not expecting it yet to pull up as quickly as he did. Obviously, he had Kyogo on the bench, no doubt to probably game around at the last 15-20 minutes. With Giakoumakis injured. What is wrong with him, by the way? Can I just say this? Because he was injured when he came in, and then he was out. Then he came back. Then he was out again.
I think we'll find out that's why he was $2.5 million.
Absolutely unreal. But listen, we've got, like I says, we're going to need to turn to the young guys now, and see if they can do a job for us. Like we mentioned just when I jumped on about the playing the likes of Abada through the middle, playing the likes of Forrest through the middle, playing the likes of Johnson through the middle. I mean, you're going to have to do some to sort of cover it, because we don't have any other strikers at the minute, unless you're pulling more guys for the younger teams. Whether or not we're even able to do that, or whether Ange feels that that's an option, I'm not sure. But like I says, Kyogo is a big loss, big loss. And
Massive.
I know that you could argue, well, he's not really been scoring as many as of late, but it's everything he does off the ball as well.
You could even see it. So yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, you could even see it the night when he came on. The work that he does,
the difference
compared to it was unbelievable. But
I mean, losing that and losing it, like even his movement, even if he's not getting on the end of a pass, or he's no. Defenders have to watch him constantly, and that's pulling them out of position, and you're creating space for somebody else then. So there's a lot of stuff he does off the ball that is paramount to how we play football, and it's going to be missed, I think. Like I said, I don't know what the extent of Giakoumakis' calf injury is, or whether or not he's due to come back when you look. That's the case. I don't know. Like I said, I've never seen Ange's pressers post-match, so like you mentioned that he's saying Kyogo's is bad. Is it yet he's bad? Has he mentioned anything about a Jetty's injury?
Yeah, I'm looking at quotes now. He said about Kyogo, he said, asked the BT Sport what the verdict was. He said, we'll see. Yeah, it's not good. Albion, and also with Albion getting the hamstring, we're going through a rough patch, which never seems to end, but we'll have to cope. So it looks like they're both out for a period of time.
As long as they're back for the 2nd of January, that's the main thing. But I mean, the way he's talking there, it could be that, like say, Kyogo and Jota, they might be back for that, but at best it might be the bench to come off and try and affect the game.
It could be. I mean, I don't know what Ange is like with his mind games, but it could be mind games as well. It could be playing his cards close to his chest. I know, obviously, that these boys being injured isn't great, and we're going to miss them for some games. But this, I mean, I think we as fans and the media and everything else is going to press, like, are they going to be available for the game in January? Are they going to be available for the game in January? So I know they're saying it's touch and go. We don't know, and I'm pretty sure he won't say anything about it until it's nigh on the eve of the game, or until they're definitely ready to come back. If it's further than that.
Aye, no, I totally agree with that.
Because you want them going into this game no knowing either, because if they go into this thinking there's not going to be a Kyogo or a Jota, and then it gets sprung on them last minute that there is, then I'll give them sleepless nights, I think.
Right, but let's hold on to this. If there's not a Kyogo or a Jota, I think there might be at least a Maeda, and he might have started on the bench, but if they're not available, He's on the park.
Well, they'd have to be in, and it'd be very excuse me.
All right,
it'd be very uncharacteristic of Celtic to bring somebody in first day January.
That's not.
No, well, to me personally, I think at least one of them will be on the bench for that game. At least one of the guys.
Listen,
I really do think that. I think they're well down the line.
If you're getting the wheels in motion and you're looking at bringing in these 3 players so that come the 1st of January they're ready to come in the door, signing the dotted line and they're ready to make their debut against them, then listen, I'm all for it. If we're batting hands to that extent, then perfect, because we need it. None of this waiting until the end of the January window and then picking people up last minute. Carry on like we're used to.
I don't think they will. I don't think they'll do that.
It needs to be done.
I mean, and by the way, it can, people can come in and play good in their debut, and if it's an Old Firm,
I've seen it many times.
Rangers Celtic. Have Juranovic done it earlier in the season, most recently?
Out of position as well.
Aye, exactly. Aye, but anyway, we'll try and wrap this up because we're running over slightly now. But we'll go to the scores for the Motherwell game. What are you thinking, Stephen?
5-0 Celtic.
Wow. John?
Indeed. I was going to say 3-0. Be a wee bit more conservative than Stephen. I'd like to see a 5, but I'll say 3. Play it safe.
Well, I was going to say 4-0 until the injuries tonight. So now I'm going to go 7-1. No, I think it'll probably be. I think it might be a close run one. I think it'll be 2-1 Celtic, but I think we'll get the 3 points. So here's hoping. Hopefully they drop points at their 12 o'clock kick-off, and we get over the line with what we've got at our disposal at front three. But that sort of finishes the show. I've not got a quiz because I thought it was just going to be me and Stephen, and then you came in, went out, came in, went out, came in, went out, and I don't know.
Came in, went out, came in, went out, came in, went out.
But I've not got a quiz for these, so he's away again.
No, he's away. I'm back.
He meant that. The tech guy's shown off. But that sort of wraps it up, and that's my hosting over. And thank the Lord and His blessed mother.
Well, I mean, I have to say, like, obviously, people know like the regular hosts and co-hosts, me and John usually, but this is going to be a new addition to the show. There's going to be rotation in the hosts, and guests are going to start appearing back on. And Ross, you were first up. You've done a fantastic job, man. Well done.
Cheers, man. Cheers. But that's it. What are you saying, John?
Says good shit, good stuff. Well done.
Good man. Job. Good man. Well,
it was anyway, complimenting you, Ross. You were dead defensively. What are you saying?
No, I just didn't quite catch what you said. I wasn't defensive. Not at all. I'm never defensive.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, so we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching, and take care. Hail, hail.